Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and this video is to bring you a look at a piece of hardware that until now didn't exist. And as I cut it out, I'll give you the background. And I don't know what this looks like. I've seen this prototyped item, I've seen it built and functioning, but now I've received it, so we're going to take it out of the packaging and look at it. What it is, in the title of the video, it kind of gives it away. It's an electronic combination key override sliding door deadbolt. So this client that requested this has a need for electronic combination, a pin code for a sliding door that has a key override. This does not incorporate a lever. We've got a different lock to be able to do electronic combination, sliding door, key override with a lever. What this is limited to is that it's in a Schlage C keyway. Is it possible to prototype this into a different manufacturer's lock to do a quick set or another keyway? Possible, but Schlage C is what this is. And given the cost and time it takes to prototype, basically to build a lock from scratch, which is what this is. This is a lock that we started with components that already existed, and then the manufacturer modified that material, remachined, rebuilt pieces, so that it would behave and operate correctly. And what I mean by that is, yeah, this is cool. This is a deadbolt, and a deadbolt has a very particular function on the tailpiece in the back. So the deadbolt needs to be able to throw the tailpiece needs to be able to throw the deadbolt, but then you need to be able to bring the key back, which drags the tailpiece back with it, and do so in such a way that it doesn't bring the bolt back with it. So it's a lazy action on the tailpiece, making it unusual. And this lock is a combination of all of those requirements. And the only downside of this type of lock, which I believe is understandably an issue for the client, is the cost. Okay, so let's take a look. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Okay, here we go. Voila. Okay, so yeah, awesome. So this is, for all intents purposes, this is a sliding door lock. So what you'll have is you'll have a combination, and you'll throw this thumb turn. Okay, and this is just on a stand. So I'm going to just, if you'll excuse the fact that it's just on a stand, it doesn't really matter. So we'll tip that down. So all that we're doing here is when you enter the code, it will, in the electronics on the inside, will allow the clutching mechanism of the thumb turn to engage the bolt, and the fact that this is a brass edge plate doesn't matter, just prototype, and that will allow you to throw this. Now this is a Schlage BE365 is what this is. This is an off-the-shelf Schlage deadbolt, and you know, they're common, they're everywhere, they're out there. You can get this from your standard contractor type hardware builder supply house like we are, and the inside is going to have a thumb turn. I don't recall the part number of the trim. Doesn't really matter at this time. It might be a Camelot. No, this isn't a Camelot. Let's take a look. This is just a Plymouth is all that this design is. This would be a BE365 PLY 626 is what this is. So on the inside there is a thumb turn. Okay, the bolt here, this is a 161 PDL bolt from Accurate. So what happened was I contacted the extremely good folks over at Accurate and said, here's what I need, and basically gave them the outline of the electronic combination, key override, sliding door. So the sliding door actually means it's problematic because a standard latch, a latch for a swinging door, isn't going to work. If that latch gets into the hole in the cased opening frame, the door will just slide right out. It's creating a bolt for a sliding door application is what the real trick is. And it was a heavy modification to the 161 PDL from Accurate that is what Accurate did. So, two ways to get in. We've got the code written up here. Okay. Right. Okay. So doesn't the code is 6295. Again, this is the first time that I've used this. I've never tried it. Let's try it now. 6295. Okay. Well, I heard the electronics engage, and when I throw that, bingo. So what you're seeing here is, what the magic really is, are these two little prongs that come out. And that's going to stick inside of the strike prep in the jamb, is what's going to happen. And I have the strike here. So I have the keys, or a key, and I have the strike for the jamb. So what happens is, okay, this is the strike in the jamb. Let's emulate this being used. Door is in the closed position, and the bolt is thrown. And what happens is, there we go, much better. So what happens is, door's in the closed position. I've got the strike emulated on the jamb. I throw the bolt. I'm throwing it with the thumb turn. I throw it all the way out, and these two little retaining prongs, they come and stick out. That's going to prevent the door from pulling away from the jamb, and that's exactly how this works. Okay, really slick. Obviously, mechanical combination on the front works the same way. The key operation on the front, take a look here. Okay. In all seriousness, I've actually never used a key on these. Okay. So I didn't know how it worked because I own a BE365 and I don't even have the key for it, which is obviously a bad idea to be in when you are when I'm not gonna change the batteries in time and I won't be able to get in. So the operation of this is clearly dependent on getting the key turned and then pushed, and then you can operate the entire mechanism. So what I did there was, let's take a look at this. And again, my ignorance is getting the better of me on how to pull the key out. The key comes out when the cylinder is what we would call upside down, so the teeth were out. Key goes in, rotate it, push it in, and then you can operate the entire lock.
What was the rest of it?
Pull the cylinder back out, rotate it back the opposite direction. So key goes in, rotating it clockwise, pushing it in, you can operate the lock. Okay, get the lock to the position you want, pull the cylinder out, rotate it counterclockwise 90 degrees, then you pull the key out. That's how this works. Okay, now let's go to the screen view and let's look at all the supporting information. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, so let's dive into the world of what we've created here. Let's start with some images. And then we'll dive into the cut sheets. We've already demonstrated its operation. This is a mounted sample. When we sent the conversation with the manufacturer, started out with, can you do this? And the answer was basically yes. And the exact question was to Accurate was, can you modify the latch bolt from the 161 PDL, and I'll show you a cut sheet of that. Let's just show it to you right now. The 161 PDL, can you modify the, not latch bolt, it's just a deadbolt, from the 161 PDL? Specifically, I stated I want to change the hub so that I can force it to work with a Schlage residential electronic combination lock. And I should have said it's for a deadbolt, which I didn't, because it takes a very different tailpiece. And the response from Accurate was, the 161 PDL is a pocket door privacy bolt. The hub is prepared 3/16 square, oriented on the diamond, which is this. How would you like to modify the hub? And then he goes on to say, the gentleman there goes on to say, I'm not familiar with the Schlage residential electronic trim in terms of how it would interact with the 161 PDL. And where I was starting with was actually with a FE 595, which is a lever trim. And then that evolved into it needing to be a deadbolt. It went to sending the manufacturer the parts necessary to make this all work. And that's what happened. So let's pick up back where we were. There's a side view of the item. Again, the faceplate, that's just something for design, demonstration purposes. The bolt thrown, the bolt retracted, the bolt thrown. Close up of the bolt itself. That distance in there, it's not important to know, but it's a 1/4 inch. I mean, it's designed for. This is basically a 1/4 inch, an 1/8 of an inch gap between the door and the jamb, and then the thickness of the strike, and basically, likely, 45 thousandths of play. So that's the bolt. It's not self-restoring, meaning the bolt can't be thrown and you slide the door closed. That would cause it to not work and probably be damaged. Meaning, if you took the door and slid it in that direction, these are not going to fail and then reconstitute or self-restore. The edge, the interior side, the thumb turn side, a strike, and a key. The display mount, that's how I received it. Now let's look at the cut sheets that we have. If you've made it this far into this video, you must be determined to see it through to the end, and we appreciate your hanging in there with us and watching this entire video. It means a lot. It takes a lot of work to create these videos in the sense that it's time taken away from doing other things. However, the advantage for me personally of creating these videos is the fact that it does allow myself to either learn about something new, to reacquaint myself with something, or to reinforce what I believe that I already know. Any comments that you might leave down below would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. So here's a cut sheet of the BE365. This comes out of the Schlage residential price list. There's just not a lot about this that's published. But it's residential, so residential folks aren't really asking for all of the details. Deadbolt thrown from outside by key, turn after pressing Schlage button or by inside thumb turn. Yeah, sure, so you can operate the lock with a key on the outside. Interesting. So pressing the Schlage button pressing the Schlage button and then deadbolt thrown from outside by key turn after pressing the Schlage button, I don't see any direct connection between that other than how I demonstrated using the key earlier. Deadbolt retracted from outside by entering a valid access code and rotating keyway turn or by inside thumb turn. Key can be used to unlock as a backup, as we demonstrated. Options available for UL 20-minute listed door, no hose, and 3-hour fire door. So you know, this isn't going to be used on a fire door. We've modified the lock to the point where you can't. While you can physically install this onto a fire door, you would possibly render the door not fire rated because all of your components aren't listed or labeled. The next document we have is the 161 PDL. Now, one thing that I had realized earlier is they can do 2 3/8 or 2 3/4. So that's important to know. We can special order these modified latch bolts in either backset. The lock that we have here on our desk is 2 3/8, in fact, which would make a little bit of sense, but it, you know, the sample we have is 2 3/8. You'll have to define what that needs to be, and that's the modified latch bolt. This is a wood door template for the BE365. This is what you'd need to drill for that lock. This is the same template, the same document for a metal door. Preparations between wood and metal are shown differently because the cavities of both of those doors are different. This is door preparation instructions for a door that is starting out with any holes, and then the same document where you are prepping over existing holes. I'll leave that to you to review. This is the user guide for the Schlage lock. It's always a good idea to read the installation instructions first. I didn't and needed to figure it out on my own. Locking and unlocking. Yeah, insert the key. Rotate the key 90 degrees towards the hinge. Push the key and cylinder into the thumb turn. Rotate the thumb turn 90 degrees towards the hinges. So you've got to insert the key, rotate it, push it in, and then you can make movement of the bolt. Lock override. We are going to we're going to take the thumb turn off the back and look inside before we wrap this video up. Lock override can be used to completely disable the keypad. When engaged, a key must be used to unlock the lock. So I have customers that will call us and say, the battery's dead, how do I get in? Do you have the key? Nope, never had the key. Well, you need another way in because you have to have access to the interior to service the battery. More about locking and unlocking on the FE 575 or 595. This is a 2-in-1 document, really. Programming instructions are here. I won't go into this, but this is really easy. On the this lock has a program code that you have to enter when you are going to effect change to the access code that works it. This video is more about introducing this unicorn that we've built, or have had built. Troubleshooting is here, and then it's like, yeah, I was going to say it's likely 48 pages worth of document because it's in multiple languages. Okay, and that is going to be all of the documents that we have for this. Now, let's switch back to the screen view, and we're going to take this lock apart a little bit and just study the inside and see what we can discover. Regarding the links to ads that you might see in this video, we do apologize for any interruption to a smooth viewing experience, and hopefully the ads that are being presented to you are related to the base product. And if there is something, feel free to click on those and perhaps consider taking a look at what that other advertiser is promoting. Let's get back to the video. Okay, let's dig a little deeper into this lock. And we're not going to fully disassemble it, but I do want to see... actually, I'd like to try to see what the cylinder looks like. And any sort of... not much there. And any sort of... okay. Anything we can glean from the latch bolt as well, because I don't know what the latch bolt looks like. As you've already gathered, it's the first time I'm seeing this lock. And we've established that I've not read the instructions.
Supply. This is
micro switch. Okay. Interesting.
I'm going to send you to Heather. She'll give you an update in a quick moment.
It's certainly going to be what the hole is for, that it has to go through that door. Ah, I see. Yeah. So there's a flat spring in here that when the bolt is retracted, it is affecting a change on the micro switch. And I don't know if this is closed loop or open loop.
Maybe supply. This is terrible.
And it appears to me that the next thing that we've encountered is a set screw here, a Allen drive screw, and it is 3/32 it looks like. So let's remove that and see what happens there. Oh yeah, it's ready to come out. Okay, so I could on the micro switch, I could put my multimeter on here and just check for continuity if I wanted to know if it's, you know, a open loop or a closed loop. It doesn't really matter what that is. I don't believe that it matters. So we're going to pull that interior off. And what we're going to do is let's put it back actually. Let's disconnect the pigtail with the micro switch and the battery connection. And we're going to carefully pull this plate off, and we're going to let the wiring go through the access hole. We're going to be mindful to remember that's the orientation of our lobe that's on the back, and just put that down. And we're also going to be mindful. Yeah, they did a job on that baby. Look at these guys.
Corey's going to pull through.
Okay. And I'm going to pull the exterior out because there's nothing else holding it in. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Be mindful of where that tail piece is. I just want to... Yeah, that's awesome. So they've taken that hub and they have severely changed it. They've modified that piece to be a specialized hub. Now, obviously they would have had this taken apart because there's a screw here. And I had described much earlier in the video about how the action of the tailpiece needs to be compatible with a deadbolt. That lazy action I had discussed earlier. And that lazy action that I discussed earlier is on this lock and on other locks. It's accomplished not on the latch bolt itself. It's accomplished in the lock body. So in a standard deadbolt, the lazy action feature is actually accomplished on the back of the cylinder itself. And the same with this. There's a clutching mechanism in this lock, is what I'm driving at. And we have to have a proper image of this. Beautiful. And we'll show these images to you actually. And we'll do that right now. And so the genius in what they've done is create a latch bolt that allows you to insert into it a tailpiece, or connecting bar, this is called sometimes as well, from a deadbolt. And yeah, that's going to be a very yeah, they've modified this tailpiece as well, is what they've done. They've either created a custom connecting bar tailpiece or they've modified this. So these locks, when they get modified to be used in this application, the BE365s are likely going to have to go to Accurate for modification, is what it looks like, which is exactly, it's a lot of what those guys do. So going any further into this is not necessary because you would really never take this apart. Plus, I don't have a need to rekey this cylinder, so I'm not going to use this video to discover how to get the cylinder out so that I can rekey it. So what we're going to do at this point is we are going to put Humpty Dumpty back together. Okay, good. I had it thrown when I took it off, if I recall. The pigtail will go back through the access hole. That plate will go on. Great. We're going to put our 3/32 Allen dry flathead black oxide machine screw back in. That was tight. Don't make it overly tight. There's no reason to do that. Locks don't work well when they're pinched together. Then I believe the next step was connecting the pigtail back to the power source. Yep, I could tell that worked because it powered back up. Then we're going to get the battery put back where it was. Obviously it's just a standard 9-volt. We're going to put the micro switch back on its 2 posts. Yeah, there's a little bit of room underneath here, so I'm not worried about the thumb turn compromising any of these parts. This plastic shroud needs to go back on. Okay, that's snapped on. Our parts are there. They don't appear to be in any danger of being damaged. The interior escutcheon goes on. Now you'll note this is pointed towards the door. That's pointed away from the edge of the door. Locked, unlocked. And that's a big part of what they had to do. They had to be able to make this work on left or right hand doors. So that latch bolt is modified to go either way. And I've got to tell you, while I'm putting this back together, I've had dealings with, obviously with Schlage for decades, but Accurate as well, and they are a can-do outfit. It's not the fact that they made a lock that doesn't exist in this instance. The fact of the matter is they've done it in the past for me as well. Let's wrap up this video talking a little bit about Accurate and a little bit about Schlage as well. Okay, so before we wrap this up, I wanted to show you the images that I took. That's that modified hub that we have. Another view of it. Obviously a fastener holding that latch bolt together based on their modifications. And then showing it installed in the door. An overbore like this is very common. You'll always overbore, unrelated to the deadbolt, but some latch bolts, especially for tubular locks, will project back in there a little bit. Okay, so that's what the hub looks like. Let's wrap it up on camera. So we were going to talk a little bit about Accurate. Accurate is a company they're a family business. They've been in business for generations, and they're known in the industry as certainly as someone that you can get things from that you can't get from other manufacturers. So an example of that will be not only when you dive into their product catalog, you'll see items there that are not unique, but the derivative of it is unique to them. For instance, mortise locks. If you want a proper mortise lock with a 2-inch back set, they'll make those. You want an 1.5-inch back set, they'll make those. They make transom bolts, something very unusual. You'd have to look that up to see what that actually means. They make all of that sliding door hardware. Now, when it comes to sliding door hardware, what's very important to talk about is this is not handicap compliant, okay? The handle is not handicap compliant. In order to have a handicap compliant sliding door, you have to achieve an ADA compliant clear opening width of 32-inch. So the problem is here, if you have a 3-foot door, just imagine it. Here's the pocket. Sliding your door open. How far are you going to slide it in? You can only slide it to here because this is going to hit the jamb. So if you were to try to use this on a ADA compliant opening, you would have to literally have a door that would be at least 4 inches wider than what you would need for a clear open. You would have to have nominally not less than 36 inch. If this is 4 inch and you had to have, if this is 4 inch and you had to have 32 inch, see my point, this is going to be sticking out of the pocket. All of this is sticking out of the pocket. Let's say that you're really about 6 inch. So you'd need a really wide door. Now, you could add handles to it that will give you a handicap compliant handle. The concern I have is I don't know whether or not these push buttons would be considered handicap compliant. This thumb turn, I'm quite sure is, because of its very large size. So I'm going to leave that ultimate question of whether or not you can adapt this to an ADA compliant opening. Leave a little bit of piece of mystery to it. So clear opening with sliding doors, be mindful this may or may not meet your requirements. Now Accurate, I was talking about their product line, unusual backset mortise locks. Absolutely. They do a great job with electrifying some of that material. Accurate has been contacted by the state of Texas's Preservation Board and they needed hinges for the state of Texas's Capitol building, which happens to be in Austin, a building I've been in. And they literally recreated the hinges that are in the Texas Capitol building in Austin, Texas. Extremely ornate hinges. They have lock sets that are installed in the Oval Office. They have material that's installed everywhere. I had them make for me, other than this commissioned one-off lock, many years ago, I needed a mortise lock for the traffic control tower of the Qatar International Airport. The requirements over this lock is that it is literally like you see in the movies where there are 2 keys in the nuclear console, and both keys had to be turned in order to arm the system. Same thing with this lock. There were literally 2 cylinders. One key had to be inserted and turned, and then the second key had to be inserted and turned. Those locks were about $12,000 for the client. The point is it had to be. The specification was such that we had to have these locks. Accurate said, sure, we'll take a look at that. They made them. The customer ordered 2 of them. I haven't sold any of these just yet, but this prototype was built for the customer I mentioned earlier, and we'll see if an order comes through for this. Now, Schlag's been in business since the late 1920s. It was Walter Schlage. Schlage is how it's pronounced, known as the Lock Wizard, I think is what he was called. He's a German immigrant. His father was basically an engineer. And what Walter Schlag did in his basement after hours is he tinkered with locks. And he eventually, started Schlag Lock Company out in San Francisco. And over the 85 years, Schlag is known, they're very likely the most widely known commercial manufacturer of locks. They make an exceptional quality of product for many years. They're very different from their competitors in the sense that they have their own take on how things are done, but they're quite exceptional at what they do. Their tech support is amazing, the whole 9 yards. Even Schlag's residential department, which is what this is under, I can email Schlag Residential, Schlag whatever the email is, and I can get an answer. Now this is a multi-billion, multinational corporation, and they don't know me from anyone else. I'm just an average homeowner, and I always get a response. So that's something to be mindful of, Schlag. As I've said about Schlag and her sister companies, LCN, Von Duprin, Glenn Johnson, it's a culture of excellence there. And this BE365, it's no exception to that. And that culture of excellence most certainly is exemplified with these guys as well. So if you have any questions on this sliding lock, if you want to buy this sliding lock or 10 of them at a time, if you want to look about having something else made that Accurate may be able to do, reach out to us. We're happy to do the investigation here. Thank you very much. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.